Apache twins' secret, the cowboy who protected their family. The sun rose slowly over the vast plains, painting the sky in soft shades of gold and orange. A gentle wind carried the smell of sagebrush and dry earth across the land. In a small Apache village tucked between hills and desert, twin sisters, Ayanna and Dakota, stirred awake. The sisters were 14 years old, almost identical in appearance, but each had her own spirit. Ayanna, the older by a few minutes, was cautious and thoughtful. Dakota was braver, quick to laugh, and often the first to speak. Despite their differences, they shared a deep bond, an understanding that needed no words. Their home was humble, made of wood and adobe, with a small garden out front where their grandmother grew corn, beans, and squash. The family had suffered much in recent years. Their parents had fallen ill when the twins were only 10, leaving them and their younger brother Matto in the care of their grandmother. She was a strong woman, wise in the ways of the Apache, but her hands were worn, and her steps slower than before. Every morning the family worked together to keep the small farm alive, fetching water from the nearby stream, tending the crops, and caring for the few animals they owned. Life was hard, but the twins had learned resilience. Ayanna stood by the door, looking toward the distant hills, her dark eyes scanning the horizon. "Do you think the wind will bring rain today?" she asked, her voice soft. Dakota shrugged, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. "Maybe. I hope so." "The garden needs it." Their younger brother Matto ran past them, laughing as he chased a stray goat around the yard. His small hands were clumsy, and his clothes were patched, but his smile was bright. The twins often found themselves worrying about him, knowing that the world outside could be cruel. Bandits sometimes roamed the plains, and wild animals were always a danger. That morning, as the twins worked to gather firewood, a figure appeared on the horizon. At first, it was only a dot moving steadily across the plains. As the figure came closer, they could see it was a man riding a horse. His boots were dusty, his hat tilted low, and a lasso hung at his side. There was something calm and confident about the way he rode, a careful steadiness that suggested experience. Ayanna instinctively felt a twinge of caution. Visitors were rare, and strangers often brought trouble. The man stopped at the edge of the village, tipping his hat politely. "Good morning," he called. His voice was deep but gentle. "I'm Eli." "I mean no harm. I'm just passing through." Grandmother came forward, leaning slightly on her cane. "You are far from the main trail, traveler." "And why come here?" Eli smiled faintly. "I'm guiding cattle to the next town. Thought I'd rest here a bit. I can help if you need." The twins exchanged glances. They could sense that there was more to him than he said, but there was also a kindness in his eyes. Dakota stepped forward. "Are you hungry?" "We have some corn and beans," she offered. Eli nodded, and they led him to the small house. Over the simple meal, Eli listened carefully as the grandmother spoke about the family, the village, and the land. He didn't interrupt, but his eyes were alert, taking in every detail. The twins noticed how he watched Matto as he played outside, his gaze protective but not overbearing. There was a quiet strength about him, a sense that he could handle danger if it came. After the meal, Eli offered to help with chores. At first, the twins were hesitant, but their grandmother nodded, seeing that his help was sincere. He carried buckets of water, repaired a broken fence, and even helped mend a small section of the roof. The twins were amazed at how quickly he worked and how careful he was with their family's property. By the end of the day, he had earned their trust, at least a little. That evening, as the sky turned pink and purple, the twins sat outside, talking quietly. "He seems different," Ayanna said. "Not like the men we usually see. He isn't loud or rough." Dakota nodded. "He's strong, yes, but kind too. I feel safer with him here." The twins didn't yet know the full story of Eli, and he didn't yet share it. He had traveled many miles, seen dangers and hardships, and carried memories he did not speak of. But something about the twins, their courage, their care for each other, their determination to survive, drew him in. He found himself wanting to stay a little longer, to watch over them without asking for anything in return. Night fell, and the desert cooled. The twins helped their grandmother light a small fire, and the three of them sat near the warmth, listening to the sounds of the night. Crickets chirped, and a distant coyote howled. Mato lay asleep nearby, exhausted from the day's play. Ayana and Dakota spoke in whispers, sharing hopes and fears. "I wish we could see more of the world," Ayana said softly. "I want to know what is beyond the hills, beyond the plains." Dakota smiled but looked thoughtful. "Maybe one day, but for now, we have to protect our family. That is what matters most." Eli listened from a short distance, tending the fire, but he could not help but think of the dangers they might face. The desert was vast, and threats could come from any direction. He had seen men who took advantage of families like theirs, and he knew that sometimes kindness alone was not enough. Quietly, he resolved to stay nearby, to be a shield if needed, even if the twins never asked for it. Over the next few days, Eli became a part of their routine. He helped gather firewood, taught the twins how to better handle the horses, and even shared a few stories of his travels. The twins were fascinated by tales of cattle drives, distant towns, and wide rivers they had never seen. They listened with wide eyes, dreaming of adventure, yet never forgetting the responsibilities waiting at home. One afternoon, as Ayana walked to the stream with a bucket, she noticed Eli standing at the edge of the garden, scanning the horizon. "Is something wrong?" she asked. Eli shook his head, offering a small smile. "No, just being careful. The plains can be tricky. A sudden storm, a wild animal, or someone with bad intentions. It is always good to be alert." Ayana nodded, feeling a mixture of comfort and unease. She had learned that danger was never far in these parts, but having someone like Eli nearby eased the constant worry. Dakota often noticed the same. His presence was silent, but it mattered. As the sun dipped below the hills, painting the sky in deep reds and purples, the twins and Eli walked back to the house together. Mato ran ahead, chasing a rabbit, his laughter echoing across the plains. The day had been long, but the family felt a small measure of peace, knowing that they had someone watching over them. That night, the twins lay side by side in their small room. "Do you think he will stay?" Dakota asked in a whisper. Ayana hesitated, looking at the small window where the moonlight spilled across the floor. "I don't know, but I think he cares about us. And right now, that is enough." Outside, Eli sat quietly by the fire, keeping watch. He did not sleep easily, not because of the cold, but because he felt a sense of responsibility he could not ignore. These children had lost so much, yet they were strong and brave in ways he admired. For the first time in a long while, he felt that he could do something meaningful, not for fame or money, but because it was right. The night deepened, and the wind whispered across the plains. The Apache twins slept, unaware of the challenges that lay ahead. But for now, with the stars above and the cowboy nearby, they felt a little safer, a little braver, and a little more ready to face the world. And in that quiet moment, a bond was quietly forming, a bond that would carry them through trials, dangers, and secrets, shaping the lives of everyone in the small, resilient family. The morning air was cool, carrying the scent of desert flowers and the soft warmth of the rising sun. Ayana and Dakota awoke to the familiar sounds of their small village, the low clucking of chickens, the bleating of goats, and the distant laughter of children playing in the dirt. Life had returned to its quiet rhythm after Eli's arrival, yet neither twin could ignore the unease that lingered like a shadow. Danger always seemed just beyond the hills, waiting for a careless moment. The day began like many others. The twins helped their grandmother prepare breakfast, sweeping the small porch and gathering firewood. Mato ran around excitedly, asking questions about everything, the birds, the goats, and the strange stories Eli told the day before. Eli had become a steady presence, quietly watching over the family, helping where he could, and sharing bits of knowledge about survival and the land. As Ayana carried a bucket of water from the stream, she noticed movement near the edge of the plain. A group of men, rough-looking and armed, rode slowly across the horizon. Her heart sank. She had seen such men before, strangers who came with bad intentions, looking for easy targets or to take what was not theirs. She hurried back to the house to warn the others. "Grandmother," Ayana called, her voice trembling slightly. "Men on the horizon." "They don't look friendly." Her grandmother's face grew serious, and she motioned for the twins to stay close. Eli stepped forward, shading his eyes as he scanned the approaching figures. His jaw tightened, and a silent tension settled over the family. "They're bandits," Eli said quietly. "They've likely spotted the village and may be looking for valuables or livestock. We need to be careful." Dakota clenched her fists, trying to mask her fear. "What can we do?" she asked, her voice steady. Eli moved closer, his gaze calm but firm. "We prepare. Stay inside and don't make yourself seen." "I'll handle this." The twins exchanged nervous glances. They had always known the plains could be dangerous, but having Eli there gave them a strange comfort. He seemed ready for whatever might come, and his presence reminded them that they were not entirely alone in this world. The bandits approached closer, their horses kicking up clouds of dust. They were 5 in number, each carrying worn weapons, and their eyes scanned the small village with suspicion. Eli stood at the edge of the yard, his stance relaxed but ready, his hand near his belt. He waited patiently, knowing that sudden movements could trigger violence. As the bandits reached the first row of huts, one of them dismounted, stepping cautiously toward the garden. Eli stepped forward, calling out in a calm voice, "This family is not worth your trouble. Leave now and no one will get hurt." The man sneered, looking Eli over. "Who are you to tell us what to do?" he spat.
Eli didn't flinch. "Someone who doesn't want to see innocent people harmed."
"You can turn back, or I can make you regret staying." A tense silence hung in the air. The twins watched from the window, holding each other's hands tightly. Maddo hid behind their grandmother, peeking out occasionally with wide eyes. The bandits spat again, but something in Eli's steady demeanor caused him to hesitate. He glanced at his companions, who were equally uncertain. The cowboy's confidence was not loud or flashy, but it carried a weight that could not be ignored. Slowly, the bandits remounted their horses, casting one last wary glance at Eli before turning away. The twins exhaled in relief. Ayana wiped her forehead, trembling slightly. He scared them off," she whispered. Dakota nodded, her eyes wide. "He didn't even fight them, but they left." "He's strong." Eli walked back toward the house, his face calm.
"It's not always about fighting," he said.
"Sometimes showing that you are prepared and that you care for those you protect is enough." Their grandmother placed a gentle hand on his arm. "Thank you, Eli. You have kept us safe." Eli shook his head. "I just did what anyone should. But be cautious. There may be more. We must remain vigilant." The twins spent the rest of the day helping around the house, but the incident had changed something. They no longer saw Eli as just a visitor. He had become a protector, someone they could rely on when the world felt threatening. They began to notice little things, the way he moved silently, the way he watched over Maddo when he ran around, and how he seemed to understand the land and its dangers instinctively. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the twins went out to the garden, checking on the crops. Eli followed, helping to repair a section of the fence that the wind had damaged the night before. Dakota watched him work, admiring his skill. "How do you know so much about the land?" she asked. Eli smiled faintly. "I've traveled a lot, seen many places and learned to respect them. The land has rules, and those who ignore them often get hurt." Ayana nodded, taking in his words. "We've learned that too, from our parents and grandmother. The land teaches lessons, sometimes harsh ones." Eli glanced at her, sensing her maturity. "Yes, and you both are strong. Don't forget that." As evening approached, the twins helped their grandmother prepare a meal over the small fire. Eli stood nearby, keeping watch as the sky turned deep shades of orange and purple. The plains were quiet now, but the memory of the bandits' approach lingered. The family had learned a lesson. The world outside their village could be dangerous, but they did not have to face it alone. That night, after Matto had fallen asleep, the twins sat outside near the fire, speaking softly. "Do you think more bandits will come?" Ayana asked, worry in her eyes. Dakota shook her head, trying to stay brave. "Maybe. But Eli is here. He will protect us." Ayana glanced toward the edge of the firelight where Ellie stood, his figure strong and steady. She felt a warmth of gratitude and trust that she could not put into words. The cowboy had entered their lives quietly, but his presence had made a difference they could feel deeply. The days that followed were filled with routine, but also with learning. Eli taught the twins practical skills: how to ride horses confidently, how to spot signs of danger in the desert, and even how to handle tools safely. He did not boast about his knowledge, he shared it simply, letting the twins practice and learn at their own pace. They discovered that learning from him made them feel empowered, as if they were becoming capable of protecting themselves and their family. One afternoon, the twins went with Eli to check the perimeter of their small plot. The desert stretched endlessly in all directions, and the wind whispered through the grass and rocks. Eli pointed out small signs, broken branches, tracks in the dirt, shadows that could hide predators. "Everything leaves a trace," he said. "Pay attention, and you can avoid trouble before it finds you." Ayana bent down, examining footprints in the dust. "So, if someone came here again, we could see them before they reach us?" Eli nodded. "Exactly. Knowledge is a kind of protection, too." The twins felt a sense of pride. They were learning to see the world with new eyes, noticing details they had never considered before. And through it all, Eli remained patient, guiding without pushing, protecting without overstepping. That night, after another peaceful day, the family sat by the fire, eating a simple meal together. The twins spoke softly with their grandmother, recounting the lessons they had learned from Eli and sharing what they had observed during the day. Matto listened with wide eyes, fascinated by stories of tracking and survival. Eli watched from a short distance, feeling a quiet satisfaction. The twins were growing stronger, braver, and more capable. He had not come to their village expecting to stay, yet he now realized that he could not leave. Not yet. These children needed guidance, protection, and someone they could trust, and he had a responsibility he could not ignore. As the moon rose over the plains, casting silver light across the desert, the twins lay in bed, talking quietly. "He's more than a helper," Dakota whispered. "He's a protector, like a shadow that follows us, keeping us safe."
Ayana nodded, her dark eyes reflecting the moonlight.
"I know, and we're lucky. Not everyone gets someone like him." Outside, Eli sat quietly by the fire, listening to the soft voices of the twins. The plains were calm now, but he knew the world would always carry dangers. Bandits, wild animals, and storms could threaten them at any time. Yet for now he felt a deep sense of purpose. He would stay close, teach what he could, and shield the family from harm. The twins had already shown courage beyond their years, and he would help them continue to grow strong. The wind rustled through the desert, carrying the scent of sage and the distant sound of a coyote's howl. The Apache twins slept peacefully, dreaming of brighter days, their hearts warmed by the presence of a cowboy who had become their silent protector. And in that quiet, vast land, a bond was forming, one that would endure the trials ahead and shape the lives of everyone in the small. The morning sun rose slowly, spilling warm light over the desert and turning the distant hills a soft shade of pink. Ayana and Dakota awoke with a mixture of excitement and unease. Since Eli had arrived, life had become safer, yet the sisters felt the weight of responsibility more than ever. They understood that the world beyond their village could be cruel, and that danger might arrive without warning. But now, with Eli nearby, they had a protector, a guide, and a quiet source of strength. The twins began their morning by helping their grandmother gather water and feed the animals. Matto ran ahead, laughing as he chased a stray chicken across the yard. Ayana couldn't help but smile at her little brother's energy. "Be careful, Matto," she called, her voice gentle. "Don't scare the animals." Dakota rolled her eyes playfully but nodded. "He's too fast for anyone to catch. Just let him run."
Eli, meanwhile, was repairing a section of the fence that had weakened after a recent windstorm.
He worked silently, his movements careful and precise. The twins watched him from a distance, noticing how he seemed to anticipate what needed fixing before it even became a problem. They had begun to realize that his presence was more than helpful. It was protective. He seemed to understand the land, the animals, and even the family itself, as if he had a natural connection to all three. As the sun climbed higher, a shadow appeared on the horizon. The twins froze. Eli's eyes narrowed, and he stepped slightly forward. The shadow grew larger, revealing itself to be a small group of men on horseback. Unlike the previous bandits, these men carried an air of determination and menace. Their horses moved with purpose, kicking up dust that drifted across the plains like a warning. Eli motioned for the twins to stay close. "Stay inside," he said quietly. "Don't make any noise. Watch, but do not act. I'll handle this." The twins exchanged nervous glances, but obeyed. They knew Eli's skills were far beyond theirs. Ayana clutched Dakota's hand, and they crept to the edge of the door, peeking out at the approaching men. Their stomachs twisted with fear. These strangers were larger, more experienced, and clearly not here by accident. The men dismounted, their eyes scanning the village, and one stepped forward, his gaze sharp. "Looks quiet here," he said, his voice cold. "Too quiet. Let's see what we can find." Eli stepped forward from the shadows, his presence calm but commanding. "You've been warned. Leave this place, or there will be consequences." The leader laughed, a harsh sound that carried across the plain. "And who are you to tell us what to do?" Eli didn't flinch. He shifted slightly, his hand near his belt. "Someone who won't let harm come to this family." "Turn around now, don't test me." For a moment there was silence. The twins held their breath, and even Mato, who had been hiding behind the door, seemed frozen. Then, unexpectedly, the leader smiled. "Bold words for a man alone," he said. "We'll see if you can back them up." Suddenly, one of the men lunged toward the small barn where the family kept their livestock. Eli moved quickly, intercepting him with a steady hand. A brief struggle ensued, but Eli's skill and strength were unmatched. He managed to subdue the man without causing serious harm, forcing him to retreat. The remaining men hesitated, realizing that Eli was not an ordinary man. The twins watched in awe. Dakota's heart pounded with admiration and fear. "He's amazing," she whispered. Ayana nodded, her eyes wide. "He's protecting us, all of us. He's risking his life." Eli stood firm, his gaze scanning the others. "Leave now. There will be no fight unless you insist." The men looked at each other, uncertain. Finally, the leader gave a sharp whistle, and they remounted their horses. They cast one last glance at Eli before turning away, retreating toward the horizon. Dust swirled in the air, settling slowly over the village as silence returned. The twins exhaled, relief washing over them. Mato ran into the yard, laughing nervously. "Did he fight them all?" he asked, eyes wide. Dakota knelt to his level. "He kept us safe, Mato. That's what matters." Eli approached, his face calm but eyes serious. "You all must understand," he said, his voice steady. "Danger will come again. The world outside this village is not always kind. You must be ready, and you must trust each other." That afternoon, Eli took the twins aside. They walked quietly to the edge of the garden, where the desert stretched endlessly. "I need to teach you more," he said. "Not just how to defend yourselves, but how to notice danger before it finds you. You are strong, but knowledge and preparation are as important as bravery." The twins listened intently as he explained how to read tracks in the sand, how to sense the approach of strangers, and how to use the land to their advantage. Ayana practiced noticing small changes, the broken branch, a footprint, the movement of distant birds. Dakota learned how to move quietly, how to position herself for safety, and how to signal silently if something was wrong. Days passed, and the twins grew more confident. Eli continued to guide them, sharing his wisdom with patience and care. They began to see the world in a new way, understanding that safety was not just about hiding or fleeing, but about awareness, skill, and trust. The family, too, grew stronger together, sharing duties, protecting one another, and learning from Ellie's quiet guidance. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery reds and purples, the twins sat by the fire with their grandmother. "He's more than a helper," Dakota said softly. "He's part of our family now." Their grandmother nodded, her eyes reflecting the glow of the fire. Sometimes, family is not just who we are born to. It is also who stands by us, who protects us, and who teaches us courage. Ayanna looked toward the edge of the fire, where Eli stood tending the small flames. "I think we are lucky," she said. "Not everyone gets someone like him." Eli overheard her words but remained quiet, feeling a deep sense of purpose. He had not come to the village expecting to stay, but now he realized that he could not leave. These children had already faced more than most, yet they were brave, kind, and strong. He would remain their guardian, their silent protector, for as long as they needed him. The nights were peaceful for the first time in years. The twins slept soundly, dreaming of a future where they could explore the world, while still holding the lessons and love of their home close. Mato slept nearby, his small chest rising and falling gently. And outside, Eli watched the plains, alert to every sound, ready to defend the family at a moment's notice. As days turned into weeks, the bond between the twins and Ellie grew stronger. He taught them more than survival. He taught them patience, resilience, and the value of working together. The twins, in turn, taught him about their Apache traditions, their love for the land, and the importance of family. They shared stories, laughter, and small moments of joy that made the harsh world seem a little gentler. One afternoon, the twins went to gather herbs near the edge of the village. Eli followed at a distance, keeping watch. The desert was alive with the sound of insects, the wind rustling the grasses, and the occasional bird in flight. Suddenly, Dakota froze, pointing toward a distant movement. A small group of riders approached, their intentions unclear. Eli's eyes narrowed. "Stay calm," he said. "Observe carefully. We can avoid conflict if we remain aware." The riders drew closer, but with the twins' newfound skills and Eli's guidance, they managed to hide among the rocks and bushes. By the time the strangers passed, they had no idea the twins and the cowboy were there, watching, safe, and prepared. When they returned to the village, the twins felt a new sense of confidence. "We can do this," Ayanna said quietly. "With his guidance, we can face whatever comes." Dakota nodded. "And we will protect each other, too. That is what family does." Eli smiled faintly, sensing their growth. "Yes, and remember, courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting even when you are afraid. You have both learned that well." As night fell over the plains, the family gathered around the fire. The stars above seemed brighter than ever, reflecting the hope and resilience that had taken root in their hearts. The twins looked toward Eli, understanding that he was more than a stranger. He was a protector, a teacher, and a friend. The desert was vast and sometimes dangerous, but together they were ready. Together they could face whatever trials the world might bring. And for the first time in many years, the Apache twins felt a sense of peace, knowing that their secret protector would always be near. The morning was quiet, almost too quiet. The desert sun shone bright, and the wind carried the dry scent of sand and sage. Ayanna and Dakota woke with a sense of unease. Eli had warned them that danger might return, but the calm made them uneasy. Even Mato seemed more restless than usual, pacing back and forth as he played with a small stick. The twins worked quickly, tending to the animals and helping their grandmother gather water. Their movements were careful, precise, and silent. They had learned much under Eli's guidance, but experience still left them cautious. Every noise, every shadow, seemed to carry a warning. Suddenly, Eli raised his hand. "Stop," he whispered. His eyes scanned the horizon. A cloud of dust rose far away. The twins stiffened as they realized the danger approaching. The bandits had returned, this time larger in number and more determined. Their horses kicked up dust like a warning across the plains. "Stay close to the house," Ellie instructed. "Follow my lead, but do not step into danger unless I tell you. Remember everything I taught you." The twins nodded silently. Fear ran through them, but it was mixed with determination. They would protect their family, just as Eli had taught them. They watched as the men approached. 5, then 10, and finally 12 armed riders were closing in, their intentions clear in their harsh expressions. Eli moved to position the twins near the fence line hidden behind rocks and shrubs. "We will not run," he said calmly. "We will use the land to our advantage. Remember, they cannot take what they cannot see." Ayanna and Dakota exchanged a glance. Their training had prepared them, but this was real. The dust cloud grew larger and the thunder of hooves echoed across the plains. Maddo hid behind their grandmother, clutching her hand tightly, his eyes wide with fear. As the bandits reached the edge of the property, Eli stepped out, his voice carrying across the distance.
"I warned you before. Leave now or you will face the consequences."
The leader of the bandits sneered.
"You think you can stop us, stranger? We've taken what we wanted from others far braver than you."
Eli's gaze did not waver. "I am not alone, and you will not harm them." Suddenly, chaos erupted. The bandits spread out, trying to surround the house. Eli moved quickly, positioning himself between the intruders and the family. He grabbed a long stick to defend against the first rider who charged too close. Using skill and precision, he knocked the man from his horse without serious harm, forcing him back into the dust. Ayanna and Dakota watched in awe, their hearts racing. They remembered every lesson Ellie had taught them: how to stay calm, how to move silently, and how to use the terrain to their advantage. They moved carefully, following his example, helping guide Maddo to a safer position inside the house. The bandits regrouped, frustrated by Eli's unexpected skill. One tried to sneak behind the fence, but the twins noticed his approach. Ayanna signaled silently to Ellie, and he intercepted the man, stopping him with a firm hand. Dakota held her ground, ready to assist if needed, her eyes sharp and alert.
Hours seemed to pass as the standoff continued.
The bandits tried different strategies, but Eli's patience and skill, combined with the twins' new awareness, kept them at bay. They set small obstacles, used the rocks and shrubs for cover, and anticipated the bandits' movements. The family worked together as a team, each person playing a role in defending their home. At one point, one of the younger bandits lunged at Eli from the side. Maddo, hiding behind a post, screamed in fear. Without hesitation, Eli shielded the boy, taking the strike himself and pushing the intruder away. The twins gasped, realizing the full extent of his selflessness. He was risking everything to protect them, and in that moment, their trust in him deepened even more. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the leader saw that their plans were failing. Eli's skill, the twins' vigilance, and the family's careful coordination had kept them from succeeding. With a final glare, the bandits retreated, mounting their horses and disappearing over the horizon. Dust settled over the plains, and silence returned to the village. The family stepped outside slowly, surveying the aftermath. The fence was damaged, and some crops had been trampled, but everyone was safe. Eli looked at the twins and Maddo, his face calm but serious. "You all did well," he said. "Remember, courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting even when you are afraid. You showed that today." Dakota ran to him, her eyes shining. "We learned from you. You taught us how to be brave." Ayanna hugged Eli tightly. "Thank you for keeping us safe. We couldn't have done it without you." Ellie smiled faintly, patting their heads.
"I didn't do it alone. You all helped too. Today you all showed strength, wisdom, and courage. That is what makes a family strong."
The twins spent the rest of the day repairing the damage, guided by Eli. He taught them how to rebuild the fence stronger and how to protect their crops from future threats. The work was hard, but it gave them a sense of accomplishment. They were not helpless. They could defend their home with skill and careful planning.
That evening, as the sun set in brilliant shades of orange and gold, the family gathered around the fire. Matto slept peacefully nearby, exhausted from the day's events. The twins shared quiet moments with their grandmother, reflecting on the lessons learned and the courage they had discovered within themselves. Eli stood nearby, keeping watch as always. The bandits might return someday, but now the family was prepared. They had faced danger together, and their bond had grown stronger. The twins realized that strength was not just in physical skill, but in trust, teamwork, and the willingness to protect those they loved. As night fell, the stars sparkled above the desert, bright and clear. The twins lay in bed, talking softly in whispers. "We did it," Dakota said. "We really did it." Ayana nodded. "And we couldn't have done it without Eli. He's more than a protector. He's family." Outside, Eli watched the plains, alert to every sound and shadow. He knew that life would continue to bring challenges, but he also knew that the family was stronger than ever. Together they could face anything. The desert was vast and sometimes unforgiving, but the Apache twins had discovered their courage, their wisdom, and their resilience. With Eli by their side, they felt ready for the future, no matter what it might hold. And in that quiet, vast land, a bond had been forged, one of trust, loyalty, and courage that would carry them through whatever trials lay ahead. The morning sun rose over the plains, soft and warm, casting long shadows across the desert. The village was calm. The air was filled with the quiet sounds of birds singing, goats bleating, and the faint rustle of wind through the sagebrush. Ayana and Dakota woke with a sense of peace they had not felt in a long time. The events of the past days, the bandits, the struggles, the lessons from Ellie, had changed them. They were no longer just children surviving in a harsh land. They were strong, alert, and capable, with courage in their hearts and the bond of family guiding their every step. The twins began their morning as usual, helping their grandmother gather water and feed the animals. Matto ran ahead, laughing as he chased a small butterfly across the garden. Ayana smiled at the sight, feeling a warmth in her chest. "He's so full of energy," she said. "It's hard to believe how much he's grown in such a short time." Dakota nodded, her eyes following Matto.
"He's learning too, from all of us."
"From us and from Eli. He's becoming brave in his own way." Eli stood nearby, watching the family with quiet satisfaction. He had stayed with them ever since the first threats had appeared, guiding, teaching, and protecting. He had become more than a friend or protector. He was part of the family now, a silent guardian who had earned their trust and love without asking for anything in return. After breakfast, Eli took the twins aside. They walked toward the edge of the village, where the desert stretched endlessly into the horizon. "It is time to prepare for the future," Eli said. "The world beyond this land is not always kind, but you are stronger than you think. You have courage, wisdom, and the ability to protect yourselves and your family. Remember that." Ayana listened carefully. "We will remember, Eli. We will stay alert, and we will take care of each other," Dakota added. "And we will never forget what you have taught us. You've shown us how to face danger and stay brave." Eli smiled faintly. "Good. Courage and knowledge together is stronger than any weapon. And love for your family, that is the strongest of all." That day the family worked together, repairing the last damages from the bandits' attack. They rebuilt fences, tended the crops, and made sure the animals were safe and healthy. Every task was done with care, every movement filled with purpose. The twins felt a sense of pride. They had faced fear, learned from it, and grown stronger. With Eli's guidance, they had discovered that bravery was not just about fighting. It was about preparation, awareness, and caring for those you love. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in brilliant shades of red and gold, the twins sat by the fire with their grandmother. Matto slept nearby, exhausted from playing and helping during the day. The warmth of the fire, the calm of the evening, and the presence of Eli filled the air with a quiet comfort. Ayana spoke softly. Do you think life will always be this calm? Their grandmother smiled gently. Life is never always calm, my child. But strength, courage, and family make even the hardest times bearable. Dakota looked toward Eli, who was tending the fire at a short distance. We are lucky, she said. Not everyone gets someone like him in their life. Eli's eyes met hers briefly, and he nodded. I am honored to be part of your lives, and you have given me something as well. You have reminded me of why courage and kindness matter. I have learned from you too. The twins felt a sense of connection that went beyond words. Eli had become a part of their story, their daily life, and their hearts. They understood that family was not only about blood, it was about trust, loyalty, and the willingness to protect and care for each other. That night, as the stars shone brightly above the desert, the family sat quietly, sharing stories and laughter. Mato recounted his adventures from the day, making the twins and their grandmother smile. The warmth of the fire, the soft whisper of the wind, and the presence of Eli created a sense of safety and hope that had been missing for so long. Ayanna looked toward the horizon, where the first hints of the moon appeared. I think we are ready, she said. Ready for whatever comes next. Dakota nodded. We have each other, and we have Eli. Nothing can scare us as long as we stay together. Eli felt a quiet pride. He had guided them, protected them, and taught them, but it was their courage that had truly made the difference. The twins had grown into strong young women, capable of facing challenges with skill, patience, and wisdom. Their family had survived threats, learned from danger, and strengthened their bonds in ways that would last a lifetime. Over the next few days, life returned to a peaceful rhythm. The family worked together, laughed together, and shared quiet moments of reflection. The twins continued to practice the skills Eli had taught them, riding horses, tending crops, and observing the land with careful eyes. They were no longer simply children, they were protectors in their own right, ready to defend their home and those they loved. One afternoon, as Eli and the twins walked along a path near the village, he paused. I have one final lesson for you, he said. Courage is not just about facing danger. It is about caring for others, making wise choices, and being ready to act when needed. You have shown all of these qualities. Never forget them.
Ayanna nodded. We will remember, Eli.
Always, Dakota added, and we will always protect our family, just like you protected us. Eli smiled, feeling a sense of completion. He had arrived as a stranger, a cowboy passing through the plains, but he had become part of the family. He had shared his knowledge, his strength, and his care, and in return he had received trust, loyalty, and love. He knew his time with them might continue for years, but even if it did not, the lessons and bonds formed would endure. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the family gathered around the fire one last time for the evening. They shared stories, laughter, and quiet reflection. The twins felt a sense of fulfillment and hope. They had faced fear, learned courage, and discovered strength within themselves. The world beyond the plains was still unknown and full of challenges, but they felt ready. Mato yawned and snuggled close to their grandmother, tired but content. The twins exchanged a quiet glance, a shared understanding passing between them. They had survived danger, learned from it, and grown stronger as a result. With Eli by their side, the family felt whole, protected, and hopeful. That night, under the vast desert sky, the twins lay side by side, whispering softly. Do you think the world outside is as dangerous as Eli says? Dakota asked. Ayanna shook her head. Maybe. But we are ready. We have each other, and we have learned from Eli. That is enough for now. Outside, Eli kept watch, alert to every sound, every shadow. The bandits were gone, perhaps forever, but he knew the world could always bring new challenges. Yet for the first time in a long while, he felt peace. He had fulfilled his purpose. He had protected the family, taught them, and helped them grow stronger. The bond they shared was unbreakable, forged through trust, courage, and love. The desert was quiet, the stars sparkling above like tiny beacons of hope. Ayanna, Dakota and Mato slept peacefully, their dreams filled with promise and courage. Their grandmother smiled softly, watching over them, grateful for the safety and strength that now surrounded the family. And Eli, the silent cowboy who had become their protector, their teacher and their friend, felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The Apache twins had learned the most important lessons of all, that courage is born from love, that strength grows from unity, and that a family is strongest when it stands together. The plains, vast and sometimes harsh, now felt like a place where hope could flourish. As the night deepened, the desert whispered softly, carrying the stories of courage, loyalty, and protection across the land. The twins, their younger brother, their grandmother, and their cowboy protector had faced trials together, survived danger, and emerged stronger. And in that quiet, vast world, a new day awaited, one filled with promise, resilience, and the enduring power of family.